Buddy, you told me a couple weeks back that maybe the most competitive position in camp this year is your bullpen.
Yeah.
A lot of really good, interesting young
Sure.
arms. As you move forward and the game starts, what are you going to be looking for to determine how you set up the back of your bullpen? I know there's a number of
Yeah,
candidates.
the back end or just the 8-man bullpen in general.
You can go with the big picture.
Yeah, I think let's go big picture. I think that where it is right now, I think that's where we have to look at,
Okay.
right, as opposed to really trying to nail down the back end.
Okay.
We have some ideas there, but that will fall into place as we
Okay.
get later into spring. The last couple of weeks, we can talk about that.
Okay.
But I think when you talk about the 8-man group, we feel good about it as it stands now, barring any unforeseen rash of injuries or anything that might occur to disrupt how we feel about it. But the talent level is as good as we've seen it as far as the depth piece, right? And we had some good bullpens, my early tenure here, some veteran guys mixing with some younger guys. But I think the blend now of some veteran guys who I think are very capable of turning, last season around statistically, combined with some young players, young pitchers that we saw last year make their debut, and some guys coming up through our system who haven't quite made their first major league game. The depth piece is something that we're encouraged about. And with that, right, when you look at the back end of the bullpen, traditionally 1-inning guys, and then the middle reliever potential with 1+ or 2+ innings, or somebody that we're going to require, or 2 guys with some length who can go 3 innings, 45, 50 pitches. That will all be considered. So, but we feel as though we have those all aspects of that covered, which is something we feel good about.
Can I ask you about 2 guys in particular
Yes.
that intrigue me? Halverson and Vodnik.
Okay.
And just a thumbnail on
Yeah.
the potential that you see in those two.
Vodnik came in the trade for Pierce Johnson. From a scouting perspective, we like that. We like that trade based on what our scouts saw as minor league pitchers, him and Tanner Gordon. But Victor has a big arm. We like the combination of his stuff: high velocity with a feel for a change and an improving breaking ball. So the stuff is real, and I think that Victor, again, aggressive by nature on the attack. You like that out of bullpen guys. Just needs some refinement in his game. Just a little bit more efficient, gets the ball in the strike zone a little bit at a more efficient rate. But he's ready to, I think, solidify himself as a big leaguer. Halverson, pretty quick mover, obviously. 24 years old, a little bit older when he got into pro ball. But, a lot of characteristics of a major league pitcher, not only stuff, but makeup, right? That was the, player development take was, his poise, his demeanor, his aptitude, a lot of the things that players need to conquer in the minor leagues. He did that in a relatively short period of time. So, we're looking forward to him, pitching potentially in the back end of the game, which we saw, right? We put him in some save situations. He had the minor league save in his resume. Like the stuff, like the fastball, like the change, like the slider. He's got the weapons. Now it's just, getting his feet planted as a major leaguer in the rigors of that. Going through a major league season as opposed to a minor league season, as we've talked about. It's different. It's different, as you know, both the pressure, the expectation, and the talent level that I think he's ready for.
Yeah, one more follow-up. I talked with Victor this morning. He was saying that after he came back from his injury last year, he said you sat him down and had a talk with him about his body language.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't realize it, but he was starting to give off signs of frustration on the mound. And you were telling him, if you want to be, that kind of badass on the, you can't have it.
Yeah, and a lot of young pitchers do that out of frustration and a strong willingness to succeed and do well. They feel bad, right? They're disappointed, right, in an outcome of a pitch or an at bat or an outing. You can't do that, right? You got to show the the confidence. You got to show the poise of no matter what happens, you're not rattled. The opponents, yeah, every manager and coach and at any level has talked about that. Don't let situation get to you, and don't let your emotions get the best of you, and you can't really show it physically. So there are times when I appreciate emotion. I appreciate a player wearing something on their sleeve as far as emotional, but Victor was doing a little bit too much.
Yesterday, the live batting practice with the ABS system. How do you feel the guys reacted to it? What are you learning?
Well, we didn't do our batting practice. We have TrackMan capability, so we're able to let the hitter know, pitcher know, catcher know if there's a ball or strike.
Right.
Actually, we weren't doing it every single pitch, but today and tomorrow we're going to do a little bit more. We're going to, especially Stallings, Fulford, guys who haven't been exposed to the ABS, our catchers. There's going to be a little more interaction with the guys behind us, our technology people, that they can catch a pitch. Hey, was that a strike? The borderline pitch, just to get a little feel for that. But you look at the number of players in big league camp. There's a lot of them who've been exposed to this as AAA players or Arizona Fall League players. The guys that who are not used to this, Ryan McMahon, Chris Bryant, Brenton Doyle, Ezekiel Tovar, but they'll get up to speed here pretty quick. But I'm looking forward to it from being in the dugout. I've seen it from the stands, more than a handful of games in the Arizona Fall League. So I'm looking forward to seeing here in spring training as we meaning baseball at the major league level, test it out.
Two questions about Chris Bryant. First is, with a lot of these young guys on the roster needing to, build some kind of momentum, take the momentum they have in the minors,
Right.
take the majors. Does Chris Bryant need some momentum this season, and what does that look like?
I think that's fair. That's fair to say. I think it's fair for you to write that if you need to. Chris basically is looking to get back on the horse and ride. I think that's the thing that I think Chris is looking forward to, being able to do that, to get, in your words, momentum, to get going, and he's fully aware of that. And we, as a team, know his importance and what he can bring to it. And I think that's the objective, is for him. And again, he's got to get back on the horse and ride it.
And then the second part, with him in right field, I know there's been some conversations about him resting at altitude versus playing defense on the road. Could you argue that the opposite maybe should be true, whereas if he's in right field in LA or in San Diego, he'd be less familiar with those ballparks, and arguably there could be more injury concerns in that scenario than doing it at altitude. Has there been any of those conversations?
I would take that argument on the side that you're not on.
We don't know what side of it.
Yeah, no, since you're on he should play in Denver and not play on the road.
Well, I know, I'm just in
What
theory,
side are you on?
In theory, I haven't
And whose
decided
theory?
yet.
Whose theory?
Oh,
So you're asking me.
Yeah.
My theory. I think for him, I think the ballparks are not. He's played a lot of baseball. Again, I don't know every inning of every game that he's played in every ballpark, but he's moved around the outfield when he was with the Cubs. I would think that, and again, I'm not making any excuses for any player anywhere, but I think it's a little bit more difficult to play outfield in our park than on the road. I can, it's fair to say the familiarity part of that is true. Sure. I mean, if, his home park is Coors Field, he's familiar with that. But because of his experience, because of his baseball instinct, playing on the road in the outfield would not be that big of a deal. But again, I think that, the focus should be on what we're thinking as it relates to him. Thinking DH, and then using the field as a means to keep him as current as possible as a defender, and also getting the other guys off their feet.
Buddy, what's his workload going to be in spring? Typically, the vets don't see a lot, but piggybacking on what Patrick said, he hasn't played.
It's a
much.
combination, right?
Okay.
I mean, we're going to monitor him like we monitor all our players,
Okay.
but we'll, we, in our mind, we have a, schedule sort of, roughly outlined of what he's going to do, especially the first week to 10 days. Do you want that?
Sure.
I'm not going to give it to you. Sure. Right, Thomas? If you give a mouse a muffin.
Hey, you want us some milk?
Yeah, right. But we're just like a lot of guys. The first, like everybody, there'll be a ramp up of KB, but we want him to play, and you know what? He wants to play. So
I want to
Okay.
go back on something
Let's go
Thomas
back.
was asking about. So you were testing the ABS system in batting practice yesterday?
we would not. Again, we don't. In technology of the TrackMan system.
So you have the TrackMan system.
Yeah,
here.
as most teams do.
Yep.
The modern technology, all 30 teams, you see the apparatuses behind the mounds, you see them behind the plate. But we have installed on our backfields back there. We have TrackMan installed. So, and we have techs back there. So, and there are yesterday, for instance, Stallings was catching Marquez. And Marquez threw a pitch, and he just said, "Hey, was that a strike?" And then Stallings turned around, said, "Hey, was that a strike?" And the guy said, "No, it was a ball, just missed." So if that goes as testing it, yeah. But we didn't like every single pitch that 15 pitchers threw, right? Roughly, I don't know, 400, 500 pitches yesterday. We didn't, we weren't using the ABS on every pitch as far as, hey, was that a ball, was that a strike? But like I mentioned today, the catchers who are going to be a little bit more focused on, receiving a ball and asking those borderline pitches back to our guys, hey, was that a strike? And that guy will say, no, just so we get a little feel.
And what did the guys think about that when they were doing it?
I think you talk to the AAA players who've been in AAA. I think they like the ABS system. I think the position players do for sure. The hitters, pitchers not so much. I think the pitchers like, that maybe that pitch just off the plate to be called a strike. And the ABS, that pitch just off the plate, ball.
Have you talked to him at all, really, about, have you had much conversation yet with those?
When you say they,
your team, your players?
yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
No.
Are you gonna,
We're gonna talk about it. Yeah.
what's that gonna entail? How are you gonna?
I'm gonna in a nutshell, like I said, we have 62 players here. A lot of them have been exposed, so they know it. Some of the veteran players, we'll talk about. They know what it is. They know what it means. And I think what we have to do here in spring training is, talk a little bit about, hey, are we going to challenge the first pitch of the game, right? Are we going to, whoever leads off on Friday and it's a borderline pitch, is he going to challenge it? Or is our pitcher, the first pitch he throws, borderline going to challenge it? Probably not. But I think we're going to let it unfold. The guys who aren't familiar with it will, get a feel for it. And, we'll consistently talk about it every day. But I think for us, it's we're testing it. Those of us who haven't been exposed to it in a game. And, what a great environment to do it in an exhibition game, right? In exhibition games. But we'll have a of course we'll have some dialogue,
Yeah,
but we
I guess-
haven't yet, yet.
I guess when you get into real regular season games, a lot of teams have rules about when to test, like runners on base or latter innings. A lot of these guys that are major leagues, they're not gonna be in the latter innings of games, so are you gonna throw some rules at them or just say, hey, just do?
You know, we
what
talked about, well, the full disclosure, I had a meeting this morning with Chris Forbes, Pedro Lopez, Michael Ryan, Chris Mahalik. Jordan Pacheco was in the cage, but our AAA staff about, because they've been exposed to it the most, you know, right? So they know. So we had some good conversation about just, you know, the ABS and what it meant in a regular season game, you know, it counted because those guys are going through it in the Pacific Coast League. And, you know, organizationally, we had some rules in place, especially on the pitching side. On the hitting side, you know, we also had some criteria. And, you know, they also shared with me that other teams, had criteria, like you mentioned, no challenge from before the sixth inning. Some teams, no pitcher can challenge. I mean, there's a wide ranging criteria for this.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.